Today on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we start our way too early look at the fall football season. Also, we look at the women's basketball program and how they could be a template for the men's program. And Derek Vandygriff stops by to talk baseball. I'm Stephen Willis at the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Today's episode of that podcast is brought to you by RunYourPool. March Madness is here, and RunYourPool has a better way to create your bracket. RunYourPool.com, the premier sports pool hosting services. Also, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor and hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell so you'll be notified every time we put a new video up. And hit the upvote button itself in the video. So we'd appreciate all of that. So, time to start our way too early look at the football season and what is going on. Ole Miss has a non-conference slate as they start out with all four non-conference games, which is a rarity for Ole Miss football because there's usually one stuffed in November somewhere that they play. But Ole Miss opens against Troy. They play Central Arkansas. They have Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia, and they have Tulsa. Just right off the bat. Bam, 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 bam. I'm looking at these games, and these are going to be tough tests because we have new players that need to gel. So there will be growing pains, and anybody that says there won't be growing pains doesn't understand exactly what happens on a football team and the coalescing that has to happen. So Ole Miss opens with Troy. It's going to be coached by John Sumrall, former linebacker coach at Ole Miss, and a heck of a recruiter. Now, Troy is probably my prediction, not as good as they're going to be 3 years from now because I think Sumrall's a really good coach. And he has a chance to create some of that Larry Blakeney vibe over down at Troy. But in year one, his first game, we'll be able to see exactly why he got the job to start with. So I do expect Ole Miss to win that game because, with Zach Evans, with Jackson Dart, because, like I told you, in order for Luke Altmaier to win that job, Luke Altmaier is going to have to win that job. Anything close is going to go to Jackson Dart. That's just the nature of transfers. That's just the way it works. And then the receivers that are coming in, the offensive line play. Talent-wise, Ole Miss is going to be in a better position than they have potentially ever, talent-wise, at Ole Miss. Zach Evans in the backfield. I'm so excited about that. He's an Adrian Peterson type player. He's going to give a G5 Sunbelt defense a lot of trouble, and that is something you can look forward to there. Secondly, they have Central Arkansas. Now, if you remember Central Arkansas, they were the team that was notoriously in the game against Ole Miss at halftime in Hugh Freeze's first game before Ole Miss stretched off to a 41-24 win. They were in the game. Now, I do not expect Central Arkansas to be in the game as this goes on. I do not expect them to put up much of a chance because it's a much different team than the one they were playing in 2012. But it is a good game to where I expect Luke Altmaier to get reps. I expect a lot of people to play, and they have a chance to do some really good things. This is when the gelling happens, by the way. Everybody's going to look at spring. Everybody's going to look at fall camp. But these first 3 or 4 games is where the season and how is going to be defined. Because as the tough games come up, it'll be important for these non-conference games and the lessons that were built up. Because the way this is set up is in order of toughness. Because like I said, Troy starts off as a tough opener. But they are going to show you why they are making a change themselves. Then you have Central Arkansas. Then you go to Georgia Tech. This game is not something that is going to overly frighten people. I think Jeff Collins is doing an okay job, but he lost some talented players to the transfer portal this year. and the writing could be on the wall for him over in Atlanta. I think he's a solid. Out of Ole Miss's 4 non-conference games, this is on par with Troy as far as difficulty because of what is being set up. And finally, Tulsa, the Golden Hurricane, come down to Oxford. Tulsa, as you know, they gave a little bit of a game to Cincinnati last year and was in the news for that. They do the Philip Montgomery thing, I believe, where they run a similar offense to us. So they're going to be high tempo. They're going to do what they have to do. They've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years, so they know what they want to do. Defensively, they can be hit and miss, and often enough, how good of a team they are is how they sit defensively. Now, with the transfer portal and everything going on from year to year, you can improve quite rapidly, or you can get worse quite rapidly, and it's all because of the giveth and taketh of the transfer portal. So those 4 games, Ole Miss has a shot, and honestly, Ole Miss should be 4-0 coming out of those 4 non-conference games. And that gets into the SEC slate, which we'll get into a little bit tomorrow. We'll start with the October games tomorrow with Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Auburn, and LSU. As you can see, if I tell you that, November is an absolute bear. But Ole Miss's October is what's going to make the season. These are games that Ole Miss probably should win against the teams they're playing, no matter where they're playing them. And if they do, and they finish October 8-0, that just creates an imminent threat of November for Ole Miss to step up to take on the A&Ms, the Alabamas, the Arkansas, and the Mississippi States of the world. Just 4 epic clashes between Ole Miss football and who they're going up against. This is the time of year I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. This year I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy cinnamon, churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good, these are going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. 100% real chocolate. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has 240 calories, 30 grams of sugars, and dozens of net carbs. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then they go out and figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. So here's the offer. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, hit subscribe, hit the upvote button, and of course hit the bell for notifications and new videos when they come up. We are over 500 subscribers. Once we get over 1,000, we are going to do a post-game live. Anything post-game. We do our post-game pods now. Everything's recorded. But in football season, we'll do post-game live. Set up a live stream. Have your interactions to go on with the program. Things like that. So it should be a lot of fun. But post-game live on the offering once we get to 1,000 subscriptions before football season. All right. Coach Yo is, I think, 22-7 or something like that right now. 4th seed in the SEC, a lock for the NCAA tournament. And why am I bringing this up? Well, I think this is a nice roadmap for how we need to deal with the men's team. This season was ruined by injuries. This wasn't ruined by Kermit Davis. This wasn't ruined by anything other than the fact that injuries just ate this season up. From the moment Deshaun Ruffin's hand was stepped on in the season opener, this season has been basically for naught. Well, you look at everybody is starting to get itchy trigger fingers and everything with Kermit Davis. And this honestly was not Kermit's fault. This season was not his. And any action that happens this season, you're kind of bringing on a problem to yourself. And here is the roadmap that I think we need to look at. 2 years ago, Coach Yo in her second year, Kermit's in his third, Coach Yo in her second year went 0-16 in the SEC, dead last. On a team that was truly cratered as far as talent-wise goes. Over 2 years, she managed to build it up through the transfer portal and recruiting, and in 2 years later, gets a number 4 seed in the SEC tournament and is a lock for the NCAA tournament. So I don't think we need to rush to judgment on Kermit Davis over this year. Injuries ruined this season. We can look at this season as a total wash and also not look at it in a punitive way. I know there's some people that have trouble dealing with their emotions, and if something goes wrong, there has to be a reaction to it because that's the way it works. Sometimes bad things happen for no reason. There's nothing that you could have done to stop it. It doesn't matter if we had the top coach. If Mark Few was the head coach of our basketball team, we would be in the same position right now as we are with Kermit Davis. It's just the way it is. And understand that Coach Yo and what she's done shows that patience in this instant reaction world that we live in is a virtue moving forward. You can build this up pretty quickly. You need to hit on your portal targets and you need to recruit really well. Right now we are recruiting really well. We just need to hit on our portal targets. Moving in. Nasir Brooks was a good idea. It just didn't quite work out the way that we'd hoped. He's a really good player. Jamin Brakefield, you can see the spark that happens with him. Just doesn't really work out. It hasn't really worked out this season. I think he has Ansu Cisse type potential, but he has to be developed. See, he got on campus and everybody thought he was a ready-made, let's go, get this done type player because he was a top 50 player. That's not the case. He has to be developed potentially as hard or just as hard as Ansu Cisse was. But his game around the basket is something that will eventually really pay off for you. And his outside shooting, once he learns not to lean on it so much and use it sporadically, has a chance to be a weapon. And then his dribble drive game will really take off. But Deshaun Ruffin is an elite player. I mean, he was turning into something quite special. Matthew Morrell with Deshaun Ruffin was turning into something quite special. So you mix those with some post players and you get Robert Allen back. And all of a sudden, you have a chance to make this team look a little bit more like you want it to. So let's not rush to judgment. Let's use Coach Yo as the benchmark of what she did 2 years ago and what she's doing now. And let's get ready to turn this thing around. There's not really, everybody's always talking about, it's like, well, yeah, we can do it, but we need concrete steps that are going to be taken if you're going to keep it. No, this isn't a performance issue. This was an injury issue. The season was ruined by injury. We have no point guard on the floor playing in the Southeastern Conference. And 10 years ago, you could have got away with that. You can't get away with that now. So our team is behind the 8 ball every single time they go out. They're going to have to develop what they have. They're going to have to pick up pieces as they need them. And they have a chance to be pretty good down the road. They have the pieces in place. Like I said, this isn't a performance issue for Kermit. This is totally an injury issue. March Madness is only a few weeks away, and that means you need to start thinking now about where you'll be running your brackets this year. Are you going for the usual? Are you looking for the best? We've done our homework here, and we make running brackets with RunYourPool.com. Along with standard brackets, RunYourPool offers game types like Survivor and Pick X. Both really fun in their own way. They have options to edit scoring, and they offer more intel to make your picks, and all stuff you won't find at ESPN or CBS. So if you're a business, RunYourPool can help you take some of that madness magic and play alongside your employees or even game customers. Plus, they offer white-gloved customer support, custom branding, and one of the easiest 3-minute setups you'll ever find. Clearly, we believe in Run Your Pool because, like we said, we're running our brackets there ourselves. There's no truer test than that. If you want to play against us for a shot at a cash prize, join us at runyourpool.com/lockedon. And while you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for 10% off your custom pool. All of the rules and details will be available there. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for your chance to win a cash prize. We look forward to seeing and beating you there. Also, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local auto chain store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand that their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. So, rockauto.com is a family business. It's been serving do-it-yourselfers for 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliable low for every customer. And you can go explore their easy-to-use website today and find the solution for all your auto parts needs. So go to rockauto.com, see all the parts available for your car or truck, write Locked On their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts you'll ever need. rockauto.com. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do me a favor and hit subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified of new videos and, of course, upvote the video yourself. We're here with Derek Vandygriff, where he's going to talk a little bit about this past weekend. He's going to talk a little bit about Central Florida. This is the baseball segment of the week. How you doing, Derek?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing quite well. All right, so we got 2 out of 3 in a frigid weekend in Oxford this past weekend. What did you notice? What did you see?
Well, one thing is all these innings we're losing is kind of killing us right now. You know, we get all these 10-run rules, and then we get rained out on Saturday. It really kind of eats into these young arms that we can get some experience in.
So you think the lack of the innings and the fact that they're actually too successful for their own good is hurting them, let's say, in the fielding category at this point?
Yeah, well, that and it being 30 degrees and raining most of the weekend, that's not really ideal fielding conditions. But like I said, mainly for me, it's these young pitchers, the Nichols, Maddox, those guys. We need to get these guys innings and get them ramped up. We're only, after this weekend, 6 games away from conference play starting all of a sudden.
Yeah. Now, how do I put this? With Bianco's kind of playing things close to the vest and almost very risk adverse with the way that he calls a game, is it almost better to not know what we really have and just kind of test him without all the knowledge, because he's so risk adverse otherwise? Those guys might not see the game.
I guess there's an argument to be made, but me personally, I would sure like to see them log a few innings before we kick off against Auburn here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just sitting here thinking out loud. So, looking at what was going on against Central Florida, this offensive unit is pretty special, although I do think that who we've played so far contributes to that a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely does. But make no mistake, this is one of the best lineups we've ever seen at Ole Miss. You've got McCants, he's taking a real step forward, hitting, I think it's like 467 this year. He's already got 3 stolen bases. Bench is hitting over 400. Ironically, our 2 worst hitters right now were Jacob Gonzalez and Tim Elko from an average standpoint. Elko's still flashing the power a little bit, but those 2 guys will come around.
Yeah. As the weather warms up, I imagine the hitting is actually just going to get better. What's going on. And speaking of getting better, this weekend the standard of competition goes up a little bit more. Ole Miss is at Central Florida. No John Rice Plumlee. He can't play, and then the game is going to be on ESPN Plus, not SEC Network Plus, ESPN Plus. What do you see going into this game?
Well, first thing I look at with Central Florida is they have the number 2 ERA in the country at .86, I think it is, over 62 and a third innings. I've got a feeling that's probably going to balloon up a little bit. They haven't really played the stiffest competition there. They're 6-1. They played Siena, North Florida, Georgia Southern, but they're an offense that runs a lot. They have 22 steals already this season, so it'd be a real good weekend to get Hayden Dunhurst back behind the plate.
Do you think that's an opportunity for Happen? Is that a possibility getting ready for this series?
Well, I would sure think so. You know, they were talking that you could see him as early as last weekend, but hamstring injuries don't really want to push anything, and I understand that. But you would sure want to get him some at-bats and some playing time before conference play starts.
Yeah, and for everybody that's been worried about the bats and everything, with it 30 degrees in Oxford, it's going to be in the mid-80s when Ole Miss gets down here. Central Florida is just fantastic. You can't beat the weather, especially in the non-July and August month. So I expect them to hit the ball pretty well, honestly.
Oh, yeah, I do too. And Central Florida has 3 really good pitchers coming in. They start on Friday nights with their former closer, David Litchfield, who's got a .69 ERA on the year, 12-2 K to walk ratio over 13 2/3 inning, only allowing a 136 opponent batting average. He was real solid last year with them closing. They slid him into that Friday night role, and he seems to be excelling in it already.
Anybody else that we need to look forward to from Central Florida? Who's somebody else we need to pay attention to?
Yeah, their Sunday starter, Hunter Patterson. He's one of the top prospects in the American Athletic Conference. He's pitched really well this year, 0 ERA, 19-0 K to walk ratio, so he's not giving up any free passes, only a 125 opponent batting average in 12 innings, but he's been really solid, supposed to have a real good breaking ball. Yeah,
and that's one thing that we've done this season is we've just punished walks and put us on base for free. We just over and over that's how a 3-1 game instantly becomes a 7-1 game, and it's basically over. So them not putting free passes on and making us having to string bats together, that could be something that we talk about our offense. That is a level that is going to stress us in a way that it will help us going into Auburn.
Yeah, and really the Saturday guy for him, Connor Stain, that's where we'll be able to get the free passes. He's walked 7 and 8 2/3, and he's only given up a .037 batting average against opponents, so people aren't hitting him a whole lot. But he's putting a lot of guys on base, and we've got to make him pay if he does that.
Okay. And also remember us talking, Central Florida has not had the toughest schedule going into this. Now, we're not really going to talk about the midweek games, but the non-conference games as a whole, like that'd be the Louisiana Monroe, that'd be Central Florida, the whole 9 yards. The way I view it is these games as a standalone, I'm not going to say do not matter. I'm saying they don't hurt you that much. But when you look at totality at the end of the season, when you want a national seed to where the Super Regional is coming through Oxford, Mississippi, you need to win these games. That raises the importance of these non-conference games. Yeah.
Really the only teams that matters to are the top 8 teams in the country, right? The ones you're talking about, the one to get that national seed and host all the way to Omaha. Usually the magic number is 21, 22 non-conference wins to put you in that upper echelon to give you one of those top 8 seeds.
Yeah, and that's what's important whenever we look at the non-conference. And as long as Ole Miss can keep rolling, we're absolutely good. Because honestly, the SEC season, you kind of ease into baseball play where it's not as hard at the beginning of it, and then all of a sudden at the end it's just a bear. But you have time to build to it.
Yeah, and then quite frankly, Ole Miss got a heck of a draw this year as far as the baseball schedule goes. We don't play Florida, Georgia, or Vanderbilt this year, so we got a pretty good draw from the league office for the first time in probably at least 2 decades, if I had to guess. Oh,
speaking of which, did you see what Tennessee did last weekend?
Yeah, they won for sure. They put a hurt on them fools. Who was it, Iona?
Yeah, I think they scored 75 or 80 runs in the weekend. It's some ridiculous number. I mean, their baseball team outscored what their football team did against Ole Miss twice in the course of a weekend. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun series, and not for freshman pitchers, and one of them can really run it up. He sits about anywhere from 101 to 103 and can touch all the way up to 105.
That is absolutely ridiculous. But I will say this, as far as a team that kind of eats up fastballs, Ole Miss is built to kind of do that. So
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
there's a chance that pitcher will come in here and there'll be a ball leaving just as quickly at about
Yeah,
120 miles an hour.
compliments of Kemp Alderman.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if Kemp's going to see a fastball in that exchange.
If he does, that thing's going to go about 500. Can you imagine 105 meeting his bat? That thing's going to go about 550.
Yeah, he might hit the band building, right?
Yeah, probably so. He'll put a charge into that thing.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see for sure. Before we get out of here, is there anything that we need to know about this baseball team going forward into this weekend?
Again, just innings. I mean, you don't want to complain about being too good offensively and scoring so many runs that it keeps getting shortened. But, we've played a total of 45 out of 63 possible innings so far. Jack Doherty's only appeared once and threw 2 perfect innings. Brandon Johnson, we just had to put him in Sunday in the blowout game just to get him some work. We need innings. We got to get these guys some work. Burton still hasn't pitched yet. Hopefully Chofie will be back somewhere around conference play. We got a lot of arms, and we need innings. That way these guys can get some work in.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Continue when we do our way too early preview and get into SEC play starting tomorrow. Now make the second listen. Now, Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Hey, Derek, I do appreciate it. And let's do this again next week.
Will do, man. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.